Hi, Esther Rosales, licensed marriage and family therapist, back again. And today we're going to talk about something a little bit more serious and not as upbeat as our other topics. And this is how to support your children through this time of stress. And it's very important to listen to them, not only to the words that are coming out of their mouth, but also to what their body language is saying, how their movement is. Are they more shy? Are they withdrawing? Are they talking a little faster? Are they a little bit more hyperactive? Really listen to what their body and their language is saying, because we may be thinking off the top of our head is they get to stay home and not go to school and just get to relax at home. But in reality, it could be triggering a lot of anxiety for the kids and not knowing what their role is. Because again, they have limited time at home on a day-to-day when they're at school, at practice, and really just engaging out with their friends. So really listen to what their kids, and don't avoid the difficult conversations. Kids are going to hear things from listening to you and phone conversations with your friends and your family members. I had somebody earlier comment to me that their child was very concerned because they heard a phone call of the grandparents talking that 2,000 people had died. And so this child was worried about this massive number and the word death. And so don't be afraid of difficult conversations with your children. Allow them to ask questions, and always ask them, where did you hear this? Or why are you asking me this? Or what are your thoughts on it? Because a lot of times children are just repeating what they're hearing without necessarily knowing the meaning or the context on which the conversation was had. So again, listen to them, look at their body, don't avoid difficult conversations with them, and acknowledge their answers. Acknowledge the responses that they have to you, and acknowledge that you may not have all of the answers. Explaining to them in a very kind and gentle way that mom doesn't know, dad doesn't know what's going on, caregiver, grandparent, we may not know exactly what's going on, and that really is the reality of it. And trying to cover up the ambiguity and uncertainty that's going on in our climate right now is a tough job to do, because we don't know when our kids are going to go back to school, when we're going to go back to work, when things are going to go back to whatever our normal is. And allowing the children to just hear you say, I don't know, we're going to get through this together, is very, very important. It's also really important to monitor the time that they're in front of a television and the internet. And although you may say, well, we're not watching the news, you may not be watching the news, but they may be hearing this stuff again through their friends. A lot of these children are spending a lot of time playing video games, and it's not video games like when we were kids. When we were kids, we were playing Nintendo and we weren't talking to anybody. It was just us in our household. Nowadays, a lot of video games are being played via the internet, and so a lot of these kids have the headphones and mouthpieces where they're communicating with other people, and information is being transmitted that you don't have a hold of. So being able to monitor the time that they're being spent on television, on these video games, and on the internet is very, very important. And again, all it does is take a matter of a second when they click onto something that maybe they should not be clicking on, for them to have access to information that may be triggering and traumatic for them. Be prepared. Be prepared for the questions that your children are going to ask. Be aware of your tone. Be calm. Our instinct as parents is to want to know, where did you hear that? Where did you get that information? Or, you can't talk about this. And remember, the minute that we raise our voice to them, or the minute that we start setting boundaries for our children, they're going to retrieve. They're not going to talk to us. They're not going to trust us. So it's just being calm and being prepared to answer all of their questions. So remember, listening to them, paying attention to their body language, paying attention to their sleep pattern is really going to be key in helping your kids through stressful times. Don't avoid those difficult conversations. They need to happen. Acknowledge and let them know that we don't have all of the answers. Monitoring their TV and internet time and being prepared. And also be aware that your child may be more sensitive than normal, right? They don't have all the outlets that they're used to having, of running around, of being at practice, of being with their peers, and even going to school. They have that structure, they have that discipline. They may have that subject that they excel in that they're no longer being recognized for. So if your child, thrives off of words of affirmation, that their teachers and peers may be giving them, they don't have that at home anymore. So they're missing that. Pay attention to what the needs that your children may have emotionally. As parents, I know in our busy lives, we want to make sure that our children have a roof over their head, they have food, they have clothes, they have clean water. That's all very, very important. But it's also as important, and not even more important, to take care of their emotional state of being, to make sure that they're staying safe and healthy emotionally and mentally. What's going on in their head? What have they heard that may be keeping them up at night? So monitoring how long your kids are sleeping is also very important, because if they're not sleeping enough, they are going to wake up grumpy and groggy and be moody. And if they're not sleeping because of nightmares or the uncertainty of, what the conversation that they heard their parents having of not having enough money or not going to work, all of this is going to impact them. So be very, very mindful of these conversations that we're having, adult conversations that we're having around our children. Take care of yourself. No one is immune to feeling triggered by all of the hardships that are going on. Talk to your partner, talk to a friend, reach out to a therapist. And I've also extended the invitation before when I've done my live workshops with the Lawndale School District, offering free services if you need via phone consultation or a Zoom. Your school will be able to provide all the contact information. And so again, being very aware of how these different questions that your children are bringing up are even triggering you. What are some of the things that are making you uncomfortable, or perhaps causing you not to be able to sleep comfortable and not lead an enjoyable day-to-day? Spend time as a family. So our previous 2 videos were exactly on that, on activities, on how to enjoy, lovingly and harmonious, get through this pandemic. There are so many fun activities that we can do as a family to bring that love and support, and more importantly, that safety net. Remember, home is where we're supposed to feel safe. Mom and dad and grandparents, our caregivers, they're the ones who are making us feel safe. And if we can't provide that to our children, they're going to be very, very restless and unsettled. So being able to provide time as a family is really important. And some of you may be thinking, Esther, we're home all day with them. Yes, but that doesn't mean that you're spending time together in a structured activity. So maybe take a look at the previous video on things to do and come up with some of those ideas and implement them in your family, because just because you're in the home under the same roof doesn't mean that you're spending time as a family together. Encourage hope. Encourage hope means letting your children know everything is going to be okay. You are safe, providing all of their needs that they have right now. And hope is being optimistic and keeping a positive attitude that everything is going to work out. And one of the things that's very important for us to understand is that all this that's happening right now, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. And it's giving us an opportunity to really sit back and reflect on how have I been living my life and how can I move forward and change. And if you've ever wanted change in your life, now is the time to really implement that change. And just take a step back, take a breath and say, what direction do I want to take my family in now? What do I want us to learn from this? And not look at it as a hardship, although financially it may be. But let's look at the bigger picture. How can my family and I grow together and inspire hope? I hope some of these tips were good for you, and stay tuned for more videos. Have a great day.